fiddle with it how you want.
Very good.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're having. Oh, here we go. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Saunders at Dynamic Music Studios. I am here with Andrew Knapp, one of our newest Forte Cooperative members and teachers, and I will let him tell me what instruments all that you cover.
So the quick way to say it is I teach the brass family from tuba all the way to trumpet.
Awesome.
I majored in trombone, and I also teach fretted strings, guitar, ukulele. I'll teach a bass. I'll do it. And I also do keyboard, piano stuff. And
Awesome.
So, yeah,
Great.
That's how I get around.
And I pull up my interview questions here. If anyone has questions they want to ask Andrew, feel free to pop it in the comments underneath there, and we'll be able to see them. So that's kind of nice. Can you tell me a little bit about how did you get started in music?
I usually say I didn't have much of a chance at not doing it. My mom's a voice teacher. So,
Okay.
I grew up with her doing what I do now. She taught voice lessons from home, still does. But then I watched her every day enjoying what she did for a living and was surrounded by music and teaching and learning, and I just got into my bones.
Okay.
So that's where it all came from. And then as I went through school, I kind of found I had a desire and a drive for teaching. People told me that they liked what I did, and that eventually centered on music as I got into the end of high school and moved into college. So.
Okay. And how'd you settle on trombone?
Trombone, well, followed my mom a little bit. I hit 5th grade and I wanted to start in band. My brother had already gone the orchestra route with viola.
Okay.
And so when 5th grade band came around, I figured I would either do the trombone because my mom had a trombone, or the saxophone because my dad had a saxophone.
Okay.
And something about the trombone, I don't know, 76 of them watching The Music Man growing up, something about the trombone called out to me. And as soon as I started playing that thing, it just sort of made sense.
Awesome.
So it spoke to me, and I've been speaking with it since.
Awesome. That's great. So, and then where did you go to school? What's your background and training in that regard?
So local.
Yeah. Well, me too. Yeah.
I mean, from Stepping Stones preschool all the way up through the University of Iowa. I got a Bachelor of Music from the U of I. Grew up on the east side of Iowa City, City High.
Okay.
And, that was...
So, homegrown.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Knows the area well.
Yeah.
Probably a lot of the families and stuff, too. And we already kind of covered this, that you kind of always knew you wanted to be a musician and a teacher, or very early on.
Yeah, I always wanted music around. You know, the thing about growing up with a voice teacher mother, I'm not saying it has to be this way, but for me, growing up with a mother who taught voice at home and a brother who's very, very talented as a musician, I was really self-conscious about music and had a lot of stage fright for the first, 20 years of my life or so. So I really had a hard time even getting into practicing, and it wasn't until I started getting more reinforcement and, encouragement in high school that I thought, okay, I seem to have some aptitude for this, and I really loved music my whole life, but those were the encouraging days where I thought maybe I can do something with it.
Okay.
And that was, when I went into college, I actually went in as a double major in math and music, but...
Yeah, those are two tough majors to juggle.
Yeah, well, the math major in me had to acknowledge that it's not really mathematically possible to complete that in 4 years. So, so I decided to go where the passion and the love was. I went with music.
Okay.
So.
And did you take lessons then in high school and stuff?
I took summer lessons, but I didn't really take privately until my senior year of high school. So, so late bloomer.
A little later on that. Uh-huh. And then how long have you been teaching?
I taught my first lesson about 23 years ago.
Okay.
But it became more my main gig closer to like 20 years ago.
Okay. All right. So very seasoned. Yes. And what would you say is your teaching philosophy?
If I had to sum it up, I want it to be about the students. I really think that you guys out there, the students who come to us, you're here for your reasons and not for mine or for anybody else's. So that's where I always go to. I want to help my students do what they want to do. I can have goals. If they don't really know how to get started, I can have a vision for where they could go. But I like them to really be in charge of what sort of music they want to learn, what sort of musicians they want to become. And if they come with that, then I can point them to the work that will get them along that road.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's great. I was talking about that with a student about more, I feel like teaching is moving towards a more collaborative vein than this like master apprentice type teaching style.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you kind of maybe have that similar, like there's that collaborative part of it that the student has goals that they want. And we like that as teachers. If you have a specific goal, because then we really can focus. Like we have, like you said, we have ideas, but you'll be more invested too if you have a goal.
Yeah, and I feel that even now, like there's so much content everywhere that if you want to be noticed as a musician, you have to do what makes sense to you. Because if you're trying to just slot yourself into everything else, like once upon a time, it's like learn the standard repertoire, get a job in this vein, right? But now there are probably fewer opportunities for that sort of employment to be really, really high level. You got to have a distinctive flavor. Right?
Yes.
And so that's my thought for people who want to do it seriously and professionally, and for everybody else, one of the things that makes me sad is when I see people who think there's only one right way to do music. And so they lose it from their lives once they graduate from high school and they don't feel like they have an institution or an ensemble to push them to do more. So I want them to feel like they can engage with music in the way that fits their life.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
Yeah.
What would you say, can you tell us a little bit about how you structure your lessons?
My thought about lessons is I only see students for half an hour out of the 168-hour week. So that's 167 and a half hours where they have to, sleep and eat, I suppose. But but most of your musical experience is going to happen away from me. So I try to make my lessons guides for how to practice. All right?
Great.
And so I try to get students to balance exercise, study, and play. And that way, at the end of practice session, if you've done all three of those things, no one in the world can say you didn't practice for at least half or a third of that lesson, right? Or a third of that practice. So if people are doing exercise, study, and play, and then when they're with me, they learn in the first part, that's the warm-up, that's the exercise time, they need that. We get into whatever they're trying to learn, and that helps them study, and hopefully by the end of the lesson, they feel that they can, at least with part of whatever it is that they're working on, achieve that level of play.
Awesome.
And, if they've got really, really good aptitude for exercise and learning, then maybe we got some time to just be musicians together, right? And that is something that I love it when a student reaches that point where they don't really need me to tell them how to practice because I've already told them. And then they come in, they show me the work that they've done, I help them figure out how to improve it, and then we get some time just as musicians together where we're just doing what we do, which is why we're here in the first place.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And what do your students tend to work on, like in lessons? Do you have favorite literature? Do you have favorite lesson books? Scales, things like that.
So if we go through what I just talked about for the format of the lesson, like the warm-ups, I don't like to go to written warm-ups unless a student really, really wants that.
Okay.
I like them to learn their music on that level, on that physical level, as something that's just part of them. Right? So we'll go through some physical warm-ups, and then for every instrument that I teach, there's a curriculum that I prefer, but I'm also open to, I've had a few students come in and say, we really like this book. I'm like, well, I can read that book, so let me help you with that.
We can use it, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm open to that. It's kind of nice, I tell my students that if you are going to be a musician, you've got to, no matter how many times you've played something, you've got to play it like you love it. right? If you're ever going to perform it for somebody else, you can't perform it as though it's the 1,000th time you've played it. You have to perform it as though it's the first time they're hearing it, right? And so that's something that I try to take to heart when I'm teaching, Lightly Row for the 7 millionth time. It's like, I still enjoy teaching Twinkle Twinkle Little Star on Hot Cross Buns.
Yeah.
Because I just love watching the discovery of it.
Oh yeah, kids get really excited when they can do that first song or whatever early on. Even if it is Twinkle Twinkle or whatever. So
Did I answer your question?
I think so.
Yeah.
It is, plus you teach so many instruments, so but you have your favorites.
Yeah.
You can ask about a specific instrument if you want on here, since there's a lot that you work with.
I tend to, like with adult students, there's a certain guitar curriculum that works well, or a certain piano curriculum that works well, and not every adult student wants to see the colorful animal characters explaining lessons. So, but then those books make things really digestible for younger students. So, again, it's about the student.
Perfect. So you tailor it kind of to each individual.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, they're doing some construction on the bathrooms next door, so if you hear any noises, that's what it is. What is one of your favorite skills to teach?
I was thinking about this one. That's a little bit like, when you ask somebody, what's your favorite movie? It's really hard. It's just like, I could tell you my favorite comedy. It's like favorite drama. And so I was trying to figure out, what is my favorite skill? Because, on the trombone, it's really fun to watch people discover how to do a gliss. Right? On the piano, it's fun to watch kids do a tremolo. It's like there are fun physical skills.
Okay.
For every instrument. But, it's like, do we want to go over all of that for all these different instruments that I enjoy? I think my favorite skill to teach people, I'd have to say, is either, scales or improvisation. Right? And, improvisation, sometimes that's a scary word for people, or an undefined word. I'm just making it up. But I love, on the trombone, for instance, teaching people how to run through scales and chords so that they can just find the sounds that they've heard and, that really speak to them. I love on the piano teaching people how to, invert chords so that as they're moving around with a melody, they can find the harmony that really makes the melody come to life. I love on the guitar showing people how you can take some simple tools and move them up and down the neck. And so, on a certain level, that's scales and chords and improvisation. On another level, it's just sort of listening to yourself. And, it's a hard thing to put just into small package and say, that's my favorite skill to teach.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things that go into it, but okay, I think that's helpful.
Yeah.
Awesome. And what lesson offerings do you have in your studio? So do you offer any group classes, partner lessons, and lesson lengths? I know it's kind of a lot, but
that's good. Group classes, I'm totally open to doing that sort of thing. I haven't had much call for that because most people's schedules are so everywhere. So just to link up one student with one teacher is sometimes a monumental task. But if somebody had a buddy that they wanted to really work with, I've done that in the past.
Okay, so partner lessons.
Yeah. And as for the group classes, when we first started talking, I threw out a few ideas that I would be more than happy to involve a larger group in, whether it's kind of getting parents even to come in and work on music appreciation or listening or understanding how to interface with their students, or helping students just listen to music or improvise together. I'm open to teaching a lot of group classes, but it's mostly been the one-on-one for me.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And what lengths? You said 30 minutes?
I've done 30 minutes and 30 minutes and hour-long lessons.
Okay.
That's kind of 45 minutes is a rare thing, and I think usually if you're going to do 45, just go for the hour. So,
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else I have? What would you say is your studio culture, and do you have any accomplishments within your studio that you are proud of or would like to share?
Studio culture. I grew up on the the east side of Iowa City, and now I live on, the west side in Coralville. And I love having students from both sides of the river who, cross paths in my studio and are friendly and encouraging to one another. I think there might be a little bit less acrimony in the rivalry than there was when I was in school. But, I just love having people come in, listen, and be encouraging for one another. And that's true whether it's students crossing paths at the end of a lesson or parents sitting in on lessons. I just love facilitating that communication and making sure that people feel supported in the community that, revolves around these lessons that we do together.
Yeah,
So
which I know is a big thing at DMS that we've talked about too, is like we really enjoy that sense of community and with our students and the teachers. Like that's what we want to really foster is like, that camaraderie and community. So
cool. And it's nice that music crosses boundaries, and if I have a really advanced student, I love when they can interact with a beginner student, and I don't want anybody to feel like you're too good for me to play with you, right? Or worse yet, I'm too good to play with you, right? Like I think the best musicians in the world should be able to sit down with the most beginner musician and just have a great time. And so, that if there's a culture that I would like to promote, that's it. Right
awesome.
There.
Love that.
Then what was the second part of the question?
Any studio accomplishments that you would like to share?
Every time I see that happen, it's an accomplishment. I'm very proud of my students on individual levels. The ones who try out for honor bands and get in, or the ones who try out for honor bands and don't get in, but I watch them face that, that they aimed for something, they didn't get it, and I watch them frame for themselves, and sometimes with a little bit of help from me, what part of that was in their control and what part of that was out of their control. And then when I see a student who had their heart kind of set on something, and then they realize that failing to achieve that is its own opportunity, that's an accomplishment too. So, I
and
really
they learn so much in that preparation too, right? Like so many skills. Yeah. And usually their practicing goes way up, and so they learn how to practice.
It's so easy to feel like you do all this work and then you have this one moment, like a 5-minute audition, and then at the end of that 5-minute audition, either the work was worth it or it wasn't. That's not how it is. The work's always worth it. Yep. And if that 5-minute audition opens a door to a great opportunity, fantastic, right? And so, when my students get into All-State or SEBA or NEBA, I applaud that, I encourage them, and that happens, but I'm so proud of the kids who come through and, face those challenges and come out stronger. Yeah. And then, I really love working with my adult students too. It's always, I have one student. She plays the tuba, and she started tuba with me after her tuba son graduated from high school. And she was just missing the sound. And the way she phrased it to me was she felt a midlife crisis coming on, and it was either going to be a zippy red sports car or a C tuba. And she went with the C tuba.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, and I loved that. And then she said she was getting looks from some of her peers like, what are you doing learning the tuba at your age? I said, you turn that on them. What are you doing not learning the tuba? So my adult students, my oldest is probably in his 60s somewhere, and the fact that they're taking this time of their lives to do something that's clearly just for them, not for a grade, not to get into some prestigious honor band or anything. They're just doing something to enrich their lives.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I'm so proud of them.
Awesome. Let's see. I think I just have a few more here. How do you balance being a gigging musician and teaching?
It's hard. The performance is especially a hard thing for me to fit into my schedule. I get the occasional small brass chamber ensemble kind of gig, that kind of thing. I sing in a choir and I enjoy that a lot. but the hours that the rest of the world is available to rehearse and put together a group, I'm usually teaching.
Yeah, I've had that problem too.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And it's hard to even, I love it. I love it when my students tell me that they're performing before the performance.
Yes.
Because then I can shift lessons around
In
sometimes.
advance.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah. And I know they're doing the same thing to their parents, but I did it too when I was that age. But I love when I can get out and see the kids. But that happens during teaching hours too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's challenging, but when I find somebody I can play with and collaborate with, I have a great time doing it. I think, in the gig economy, music lessons are my biggest gig.
Yeah.
And, honestly, I chose this field partly because of the scheduling flexibility. I knew that, my family's close by. I want to have the flexibility that this affords me during the hours when I can be there. Like, I came straight here from helping my stepmother with a tech support issue on her email. So, it's
nice.
I don't think I'm any busier than any other person who works hard at what they love, right? Like, I know doctors, I know, programmers, and I just work different hours than they do.
Yep. Yeah, it's just you're fitting it in at a different time, and then you have your admin outside of the teaching hours and all that kind of stuff. So
that's true.
Yep, it's a lot of hours. What are some of your hobbies outside of music?
What's a hobby? So I do enjoy video games. That's a holdover from being very young.
Okay,
like the Nintendo hit right when I was ready to get addicted. So I still do video games from time to time, but I love exercise.
Okay.
I go to the gym. I run. If that's a hobby.
Yeah, I'd say fitness or whatever.
Yeah. I'm big into. I like reading, and I really enjoy movies. So those can be kind of hobbies. You can go down a rabbit hole with a movie that you love.
Yes, if you get it hardcore in, or there's lots of sequels or whatever.
Yeah.
And any special projects, music-related projects that you're working on at the moment? Or?
Some of the group classes that I was talking to you about, I am looking at putting those together in the not too distant future, and also I'd like to put together a recital in the next, I'm thinking April, May for my studio.
Awesome, great. So keep an eye out for that.
Yeah.
And if you have a group class that you're interested in, feel free to let us know. I know that's something that we as a studio have been wanting to do more of, and we've had a few that we've offered and haven't had as much kind of buy-in, or we're still kind of in our infancy, I guess, as a studio. So, but we have this great group space that we're sitting in right now, so we'd love to utilize it more.
Can I say,
go ahead.
As a teacher, I always feel like I come alive when I've got a request, right? If you come to a lesson and you are lit up and prepared, then you have more questions. That's when I'm like, yes, let's go to work right there. And that's the same thing with things like group classes. So, that old thing where it's like, if you have a question, probably somebody else has the same question. Feel free to reach out to your teacher or reach out through the site and just tell us what you're interested in, and chances are somebody is interested in teaching it also.
Yes.
So you could be the impetus for something really great, but other than that, that just, if you don't do that, it leaves it up to us teachers to come up with our thoughts and suggestions. Yeah.
So we can kind of, and even if we poll our students, sometimes we don't get word back. So you are our best resource, like you said. So let us know, and I'm sure we can come up with something. And Christina, one of our other owners, says, welcome. So happy to have you with us. I will post a link to Andrew's page on our DMS website, so you can kind of check him out some more from there. This interview will live on there as well. Otherwise, you can email us at info@dynamicmusicstudios.com. dynamicmusicstudiosia.com. I'll put the email in the comments too, for lesson inquiries. And can you just tell us what days you usually teach that you have availability?
Yeah, I have availability spread out throughout the week. I teach, I don't schedule regular lessons on Saturdays, but other than that, you can probably find a spot in my week if you are interested in any of those instruments that I teach. So.
Awesome. Great. Yes, there's so much value in group classes. Christina said yes. We really like, I mean, when we have the monthly ones or the now quarterly group classes and have the students come together, it's really fun too to see them in the different studios. So like, you know, piano and voice and cello and all that getting to intermingle is really cool too. So yeah, thank you for talking with us.
Yeah, no, thank you.
And let us know if you guys need anything.
It's
Awesome.
been really great to see, you know, this is right in the heart of the town where I live, and I drove by here several times after you guys opened up. I saw just like murmurings on Facebook, but I'm never on Facebook. I'm sorry, I'm never on Facebook. But you know, once you guys reached out to me, it was just so great to come here and see what you're up to, and I really think that you've got a strong ethic, strong message, and I'm happy to be part of it.
Yeah, we love our space, so yeah, we're happy to have you with us. So
Thank you.
awesome. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you.
Oh.